Hi everyone, good evening. It is another beautiful episode of the IMG Chronicles, International Medical Graduate Chronicles with Dr. Shay. I am so excited this evening. So I'm going to start something new. If you're new to this blog, welcome. We are excited to have you with us. We are excited to have you join our family. So first, I would like to say thank you to all of you new subscribers. I see that there's so many new faces. Welcome, welcome. I am sure this is going to be worth your while, all of the information you're going to get here. And one thing we all have in common is we all want to practice medicine in Canada. We're all physicians, either within Canada or outside of Canada, with the intention of calling Canada home and living here at some point. So welcome to this journey of mine where I share tips on how to successfully integrate. If you haven't subscribed yet, please hit the subscribe button, like, share with friends, go on our social media pages. Let's grow this community together because guess what? There is enough space in Canada for all of us. So welcome. I'm excited. Housekeeping. Going forward, there's something I want to starting today, and it's called the land acknowledgements. Canada was a land that originally belonged to the indigenous people. I'm going to give a bit of context to that because I feel like it is the right thing to do out of respect to the owners of this land. We are all settlers who have come to this land, and I had previously not done land acknowledgements, but I want to start now. It's never late to start something right. This last weekend, so let's take a pause. I know we are here to talk about medicine and how to go forward, how to move to Canada, but if we want to call this land home, let's know a bit about this land. I'll be very brief. There's something called residential schools that happened in this country not too long ago. We're not talking of the distant history, immediate past history of this country. And this was where indigenous children, babies, were taken from their home, from their parents. The police came, took them away from their parents and put them in residential schools, thousands of miles away from home, and their intention was to integrate them into mainstream society and depriving them of their culture and familiar language. But it's a whole dark history of Canada, and to that end, I moved here in 2014, and the Prime Minister Justin Trudeau started a Truth and Reconciliation Committee with the intention of bringing forward the survivors of these residential schools. Many thousands died. Thousands cannot be accounted for. Many of them are alive today. For those that, at the end of the day, got released from those residential schools and they're traumatized for life. They all have post-traumatic stress disorders. This is intergenerational trauma that you get to learn more of when you eventually come to call Canada home. The reason I'm mentioning this evening is because over this past weekend, the bodies of 215 children were found in one of the provinces. Some of these babies were as young as 3. You can imagine that these children were taken to school. They were supposed to be in school and they were not safe. Many were abused, many were killed. And this is such a dark part of Canada's history. So we're actually mourning this. We're mourning right now. We grieve with the communities that have their wounds reopened. We grieve with the families of these people, of these children. We grieve with mothers that are hurting all over again. And I'm purposely wearing the color orange I'm going to read something to you what the color orange means. The color orange is signifying is a color that we use to remember the children, the victims of these residential schools. There's actually something called an Orange Shirt Day in Canada, which is September 30. I'm going to be reading from something. And the Orange Shirt Day is an event created in 2013 designed to educate people and promote awareness in Canada about the Indian residential school system and the impact it has had on the indigenous community for over a century, which has been recognized as cultural genocide, and that impact continues today. As potential doctors in this country, you are going to have these people as patients, you're going to have them as family, you're going to have them as friends, you're going to have them as neighbors. And remember all of this history because it does affect their health, their health indices. And you'll know more about this when you come to Canada. Because of what's happened over the weekend, I feel very strongly about talking about it this evening. So back to my land acknowledgements. For every video going forward, I'm going to be doing that. And here goes my land acknowledgement this evening. I acknowledge the traditional and present-day territories of the Blackfoot and the Treaty 7 people, including the Siksika, Piikani, Kainai, Tsuut'ina, and Stoney Nakoda First Nations. Calgary is also home to the Metis Nation of Alberta, Region 3. This is their land, and I am honored and I am grateful and thankful that I get to be a settler in this land called Canada. So welcome back to the IMG Chronicles. So today, our topic, let me tell you, we are going back to the basics. Yes. So today is a lecture actually, and if you want to get your pens, if you want to write down, today is for the person who is thinking about coming to Canada, who has no idea how to navigate the process, who hasn't looked on the internet, or you've looked on the internet and the information is just a lot to take in. So today is for you. And the title of our lecture today is called Back to the Basics, Physician Relocation 101 to Canada, Back to the Basics. And what I want to tell you are all of the things that you're going to need to put together before you get to that process where we're talking about exams and how to integrate, which is, those are the things that I've been talking about from the beginning. Those have been the recurrent themes, but some people have been asking, for some of us who have no idea how to start. So I've listened to your questions. I've listened to your comments. Thank you for your feedback. So today's for you. And before I go further, remember to like, share, subscribe, hit that button if you haven't done so. That is the way we grow this family. So the first thing today on Back to the Basics lecture, Physician Relocation 101 to Canada. It sounds like 100 level kind of lecture, right? Okay. So the very first thing is you want to come to Canada. What kind of visa do you need? Why am I talking about visa? In this country, unlike some other countries where you can do the exams, in this country, you have to be a legal resident of this country, to be able to work or get positions. You can match in America, for example, without being an American citizen or without having a green card. But in Canada, it is not so, because at the process of applying to programs, you have to show documentation of your status, and you either have to be a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident of Canada, and that is just their rule here. So the very first thing is you want to decide, what kind of visa do I want to apply for? And you've got a couple of options. You've got the permanent resident option. And for that, the link is below. The website is www.cic RELOCATION.gc.ca. Go visit the website, see everything they're talking about with regards immigration and relocation to Canada. There's some wonderful blogs out there by people who recently have immigrated. So yeah, do your homework, look at them, see how to go about that pathway. So that's the first pathway. I actually came in here through that pathway as an economic immigrant. So the second one is a work permit. I've seen a few doctors who actually are practicing family physicians back in their home countries. They have the fellowship of their college of family physicians, and they applied for jobs in Canada and got a job and got sponsored. But I would say that is not a common route, so it's not something that I've seen commonly happen, but it did happen. Another way I've seen that happen is if, for example, your spouse was transferred to work here in Canada and has got a work permit, and you as a spouse are here, then you automatically get that same permit and you can go on to register for exams with that. And long term, you actually can end up converting that visa to a Canadian PR, going through the process. So that's the second kind of visa you could have. And the third kind of visa is a study permit. So you could come school in Canada, you could, come for a master's, but of course that's an expensive venture and you do not have any benefits, right? You are coming here to spend and pay school fees, but that is another option. You can apply for a student visa, and when you get in here while you're schooling, you can also be doing your exams. So very first thing on our lecture, Relocation 101, Physician Relocation 101 to Canada. So first thing, documentation, your visas. What kind of visa do you want to begin to work towards? So we've ironed that out. So do your homework, look at that in more detail. And the second thing we're going to go on to is credentials. Physician medical credentials source verification. Is a mouthful, I know, but what that means is you need to have your documents verified. So we've got a body here called Physicians Apply. So the link is below, www.physiciansapply.ca. Look them up, and what they do really is they verify credentials of all foreign trained doctors or even Canadian doctors as well, and they act as a repository for your documents, meaning they store your documents and they share your documents with organizations you need to share them with. And this is done for a fee, and that fee is $304. So to register with Physicians Apply, you pay 304 Canadian dollars. It is non-refundable. So that is the very first step. You register, and then you are going to need a couple of documents verified by them, which they are going to share with the Medical Council of Canada, the MCC, our regulatory body here. And that is when you get a go-ahead to do exams, to apply for exams after you have gone through this process. I know it's a lot. You can always come back and rewatch this video. The documents you are going to need source verified by Physicians Apply include your medical degree or diploma, your medical transcript, your internship certificate. If you did an internship, remember those forms you filled at the completion of the rotations. That is what I'm talking about. That needs to be source verified. The fourth thing is your postgraduate training. So if you completed postgraduate training, that can be source verified as well. And if you have a subspecialty, that also needs to be verified. And the very last thing is your medical license, so your practicing license in your country. So that's a couple of things. It may not apply to you, but at the very minimum, everybody has to have a medical degree, a medical degree transcript, as well as a practicing license source verified. So you need all of those things, and each document is verified at a fee. Each document is verified for a fee. I'm not going to mention the fee just because things could change, but whenever you're ready, you just go digest the Physicians Apply website. Everything is listed there. This is just to give you a taste of what you have ahead of you. So let's recap. The first thing was your visa, right? And the second thing is verifying your documents. And only after you've done this and giving them permission to share it with the Medical Council of Canada, then the MCC, I'll keep using that abbreviation going forward, Medical Council of Canada, the MCC, then gives you the go-ahead, the permission to register for exams. I hope you got that right. So remember our lecture, I warned you from the beginning, this was going to be an information loaded session, and it is called Physician 101 Relocation to Canada, Back to the Basics. So this is just an interlude to remind you to like, share, subscribe, tell your friends about it who want to relocate to Canada, because there's very good content here, that I'm giving to you to save you some of the headache and to inform you about everything you've got ahead of you. So we've done 2 steps, right? And now we go on to the third step. And my third step is deciding on what specialty do I want to do when I get to Canada. Irrespective of what you want to do, you have to do your exams. So we stopped at MCC, giving you permission to go register for your exams, right? Now you are thinking, so what are those exams? Let's talk about them. Okay, so let's talk about the exams. Our exams, unfortunately, of all the developed countries, we have the most expensive exams. You have to be ready. You have to save towards this project. It is money consuming, I tell you. So, what exams are we talking about? The very first exams, good for you guys, is now called the MCC QE1. There was an exam before that previously, which got cancelled, I think 2 years ago now. So when I came in a few years back, I had to write that first one, but good for you, it's been cancelled, so we're not going to talk about it. That exam was called the MCCEE, which is short for Medical Council of Canada Evaluation Exam. So that exam is scrapped. No EE anymore. In case you're hearing about EE, chalk it out. You don't need EE anymore. So your first exam is the MCC QE1, the Medical Council of Canada Qualifying Exam 1. That's the first exam you're going to register for, and the cost of that exam as at today, when I checked, it is 2,780 Canadian dollars. Ain't cheap. So that's the first exam. You don't want to do that exam a second time, so you have to really be prepared. Prepared to, when you either from your respective home countries, you have to prepare for the exams. I encourage you to join study groups. There are so many resources online now. The world is a global village. Get connected to people, right? So that's the first exam. Is a combination of a multi-choice questions as well as something called clinical decision-making exams. And you would know more about it when you get to that bridge. Today is just to give you a brief overview. And then the second exam is dependent on what pathway you want to go. Remember, I asked earlier, what specialty do you want to do? At that point, the question you ask yourself is, do I want to come in and apply to do residency, which is what I did? Or do I want to come in and go through what we call the practice ready assessment route? What that means is they recognize you've got postgraduate training from your home country, and the only specialty that really does this is family medicine. So they recognize you've got training in family medicine in your home country, you've done all of these exams, you're current in practice, meaning you've not been out of practice for longer than X amount of years, and with that you are invited to apply for the practice ready assessment. That is a topic, a video, a blog on its own that we're going to get to. We're going to start that series the next time, so don't worry about that. Today we're just talking about the process. So if you decide you want to go that route, then the next exam after your QE1 will be your QE2. QE2 just simply means Medical Council of Canada Qualifying Exam 2, which is an OSCE exam. So it's a clinical based exam. OSCE is spelled OSCE for those who have not done OSCE exams. I know some people trained using real patients, long cases, short cases. In Canada, we don't do that. We use the OSCE as a measuring tool for our clinical exams. So that is what you're going to be doing. And when you complete your MCC QE1 and 2, you get the designation called the LMCC. So you are licensed and your name appears in the medical register of Canada. So that is the LMCC. It's an academic certificate. And if you Google yourself, you'll see that your name is on the Canadian register. You get a card and you get a certificate. So you see the picture of mine below. So that is your pathway, and you need to have a certain score in that exam, which is dependent on the province you're applying to. Now, if you decide that you want to do residency, after your QE1, the next exam that is compulsory for that is called the NAC exam, NAC exam. And it's the National Assessment Exam. Is also an OSCE exam, but this exam is a prerequisite to applying for residency. And the cost of that exam is $2,885. So the cost of QE1 and QE2 are the same, $2,780, and the cost of the NAC exam is $2,885. Those are the two. In addition to your English exam, you need a current English IELTS academic exam. You need to score a minimum of 7.5 across board. So in addition to your English, right? So this is the barest minimum. But as an IMG, most of the time you want to do more than the barest minimum, because you are competing with others, and you want to be better, right? So for me, in addition to those exams, I took the QE2, even though I didn't need it for residency, but I felt it will give me an edge, and also it means I'm done, because for Canadian graduates, they actually do the QE2 during the final year of their postgraduate training. That's when they do their QE2 exams. But I got into residency, haven't done all of that prior to the start of residency, and I'm better off for it, because while my colleagues are, running helter-skelter trying to study for their exam, I don't have to worry about that. I can focus on other things, right? So that's a brief overview of the exams, and there is a last exam. I know, I feel your pain, but man, if you want to be here, you are going to do the work, and it is real work, And this last exam is directed at people who are going to be going through the practice ready pathway. It is called the therapeutic decision making exam. So after you've done your QE1, you've done your QE2, this exam is just talking about therapeutics, pharmacology, medicine, right? And is checking your therapeutic knowledge base. And it is only after you've passed the others, then you're given permission to register for this exam by the province that you want to apply for. So the cost of that exam is $1,995. I just put all of this out here so that you can have a quantitative idea in terms of money, what we're talking about here. So we've talked about your exams. We talked about deciding what pathway you want to go through, and that's dependent on you looking at your resume and realizing, where do I have my best chances? How long post-graduation am I? What do I want out of coming to Canada, right? So all of those questions you have to answer for yourself. You can ask me questions if you need some advice, if you're struggling with making some decisions. My email address is down below, but I'm going to tell you is info@drsheyi.com. So feel free, ask me your questions. Ask your questions here. I'm very happy to answer and help anyhow I can. So really, this is like a broad overview of, I'm a doctor somewhere outside of Canada, and I want to call Canada home. I want to come practice as a doctor in Canada. So today we had the back to the basics. Is a lot of talking. My mouth actually aches, but I thought, this is good information to start with. You follow all of the links I'm going to be putting at the back of the video or while we're talking. Look at all of those links, visit all of those websites, equip yourself. This is just to give you a boost to do this. Don't feel discouraged. We're here. I'm here. I did it, and you can do it. Believe me, if as a mom, I was a single mom when I got here, my husband was working in Nigeria, I had 2 young kids, I had a preschooler, and somehow I made it work. Remember, when you've got a will, there will be a way, and the journey, begins with one step. So I'm doing this today to encourage you to take that step if that is what you want to do, and there's so many of us here rooting for you, who are happy to welcome you to Canada. And that brings us to the end of today's video. So remember, like, share, subscribe, follow us on all our social handles. And if you are new, welcome to the IMG Chronicles with Dr. Sheyi. It was a pleasure this evening. I look forward to seeing you the next time. So subscribe. Nice chatting this evening. Have a great rest of the week, guys.